Okay, just picture this for a second. You hear the sound of running water in your house, but everything's supposed to be turned off. Or, even worse, you open the basement door and find out you now have an indoor swimming pool. It is a moment of pure, absolute panic for any homeowner. So today, we are going to break down exactly what to do when water attacks, using the actual science of professional restoration to guide us. Let's dive in. Right, so you head downstairs and your feet hit that freezing cold water. The panic just sets in immediately. It is a shocking, awful moment. And honestly, what you do in the next few hours is so critical. It's going to determine whether this is just a massive headache or if it turns into a long-term catastrophe for your house and, even your health. So where does a disaster like this even begin? It's kind of fascinating. And definitely a little scary because it almost always starts with just one single point of failure in a system that, let's be honest, we all completely take for granted. It could be a sump pump that just decides to quit during a huge rainstorm, or maybe a pipe freezes and just explodes, or the city sewer backs up right into your home. Yeah, that happens. Whatever the cause, the result is just chaos. And we're not talking about a little spill here. A single burst pipe can dump hundreds of gallons of water, transforming your home into a major hazard zone in just a matter of minutes. Now, here's what's really interesting. The standing water you can actually see, that's really only the beginning of the problem. The real race is against an invisible enemy that starts its dirty work almost immediately. This slide is incredible because it shows just how fast things go from bad to worse. Within the first hour, water is already soaking up into your drywall like a sponge. By 24 hours, bacteria are having a party, and things like your wood floors start to swell up and warp. But look at that 48-hour mark. That's the real deadline. That is when mold, the truly dangerous hidden enemy, begins to grow inside your walls, wrecking your air quality and the structure of your home. And if you go past 72 hours, that water can become so contaminated it's literally considered hazardous waste. So here's the bottom line, folks. You have a critical 24 to 48-hour window to get that moisture professionally dealt with before mold really gets a foothold. Because once it does, this stops being a simple water damage problem and it becomes a full-blown hazardous material remediation project. It's a whole different ballgame. And that ticking clock is exactly why trying to handle anything more than a small puddle by yourself can be a huge mistake. The stakes are just way too high. So let's look at why the professional approach is so completely different. It is so tempting to just grab a shop vac and a bunch of fans. It feels productive, right? But as you can see here, it is a massive gamble. You are almost guaranteed to miss the moisture that's trapped deep inside walls and under the flooring, which is basically sending a written invitation for mold and rot. The professionals, on the other hand, they don't guess. They use science and the right tools to prove the moisture is gone. And that, by the way, is exactly the kind of documentation your insurance company is going to want to see. And the gold standard for that science is this: the IICRC. If a company tells you they're certified, it means their technicians have actually been trained on the physics of drying. They get the complex stuff, like psychrometrics, which is basically the science of how air can literally pull moisture out of solid materials. They know how to dry your house without causing even more damage. It's the difference between hiring a real doctor and, someone who just plays one on TV. This right here. This says it all. A wall can feel totally dry to the touch, but still be completely saturated on the inside. So professionals use tools like thermal cameras to see temperature differences that show where moisture is, and they use moisture meters to get precise readings. They prove your home is dry with cold, hard data, which is exactly what you need for peace of mind and a successful insurance claim.
So, what does this whole professional process actually look like when they show up at your house? Well, it's not just about sucking up the water you can see. It's a really structured 3-phase approach designed to take your home from total chaos all the way back to calm.
Okay, so it all starts with phase 1, extraction. This is the emergency response. They bring in these incredibly powerful truck-mounted pumps to get all of that standing water out, fast. But phase 2, structural drying, that is the most critical part. This isn't just about pointing a fan at a wall. It's about using these giant air movers and industrial-grade dehumidifiers that run for days to pull moisture from deep inside the structure. Only when their scientific tools prove it's completely dry can phase 3, the actual rebuilding and restoration, even begin.
And let's be super clear about that drying phase. If anyone promises they can have you dry in 24 hours, they are cutting major corners. Proper drying, according to industry standards, takes time, usually about 3 to 5 days. Rushing this step is the #1 cause of serious mold problems down the road.
Okay, so we've covered the problem and we've covered the professional solution. Now let's turn all this into an actual, actionable playbook for you. What should you do the exact moment you discover water in your home? All right, here are your first 5 moves. First, safety. If you can do it safely, shut off the water source and cut the power to that area. Second, start moving your valuables out of the way. Third, start documenting everything. I mean, photos, videos, all of it for your insurance claim. And finally, and this is the most important one, make the call to a certified 24/7 restoration company. Time is absolutely your enemy here, so do not wait until morning. And when you do call, have this checklist handy. You want to hear yes to every single one of these questions. That ICRC certification, totally non-negotiable. A company that handles the insurance billing directly, that will save you a massive headache. And finding a single source company that manages the whole job, from the initial cleanup all the way to the final rebuild, that just eliminates the chaos of you trying to juggle a bunch of different contractors. So, let's end with this. After all the pumps are gone and the fans are finally turned off, the most important question is still hanging in the air. Because look, getting rid of the visible water, that's the easy part. But ensuring your home is scientifically, verifiably dry down to its bones, that's everything. And that is the difference between a quick fix and a true recovery.